Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As-salatu was-salamu ala Rasul al-Kareem. Let's get the show on the road. Sheikh Ahmed Amir, rahimullah, take it away.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. من جاء بالحسنة فله عشر أمثالها ومن جاء بالسيئة فلا يجزى إلا مثلها وهم لا يظلمون. قل إنني هداني ربي إلى صراط مستقيم دينا قيما ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له وبذلك أمرت وأنا أول المسلمين. قل أغير الله أبغي ربا وهو رب كل شيء ولا تكسب كل نفس إلا عليها ولا تزر وازرة وزر أخرى ثم إلى ربكم مرجعكم فينبئكم بما كنتم فيه تختلفون. وهو الذي جعلكم خلائف الأرض ورفع بعضكم فوق بعض درجات ليبلوكم فيما آتاكم إن ربك سريع العقاب وإنه لغفور رحيم. صدق الله العظيم.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Azad, also known as Captain Caveman.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I am a groggy Mac. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, and this Yes, Professor
Okay.
Ray, and I've got my the earplugs on so I can hear everyone, and I don't cause nuisance to everyone else as well.
Earmuffs, is it that cold?
Yeah, you know what? It gets really hot underneath this. I prefer not to have it, but otherwise I'll get a lot of interference, so you'll have to do. Yeah, so how's everyone
You're
today?
getting interference anyway.
Alhamdulillah.
Are you
very
getting
good.
interference?
And also
Why
there's a
is Callum
delay.
head? Oh, is there a delay? Yeah. How can my internet be very, very bad?
Well, anyway, we have a groggy Kalam and we have a groggy Abdul. Kalam, you sounded like a bit like a frog at the beginning. Don't take this personally. Is it because of what Macron said? Because Macron said Islam is facing a crisis all over the world.
Mm.
Wow,
I heard.
that's fantastic. Yeah,
I mean, I'm actually amazed that cheese can speak so eloquently. Oh, sorry.
I'm glad he said it in French, though, innit?
Huh?
I'm glad he said it in French, so not many people would have understood what he said, because France is like a dying language, you see. The relevance of France as a country internationally is so low. It's the lowest it's ever been. It no longer has an empire. Nobody can visit the Eiffel Tower because of COVID. Doesn't have a good football team. Its food is crap. So who cares what the French think, to be absolutely honest? Let him carry on.
They eat frog legs as well. But not all the French people are that bad. It's just probably some of them that vote people like Marine Le Pen and people like that. Anyway, let's move on. What are we going to be talking about? Brothers and sisters, do comment. Let us know what's been happening this week. A number of things that we want to talk about. Obviously, Palestine is going to feature, I think, in the conversation. But before we get into all of that stuff, did you hear the sad and devastating news? The leader of the free world is drinking bleach.
I don't think he will be, though, innit?
Of course he's going to be drinking it, because he said that's what cures it.
Yeah, but you know what it is? But when push comes to shove, these people, they won't, they're not man enough, innit?
He's drinking bleach, man. He's been using bleach on his head for so long, right? Why not drink it? But let me ask
you know what?
Serious question is, when you heard Donald Trump has got COVID, what was your initial reaction? And be honest.
Go on, Abdi,
I
I'll let
can't
you
be
answer.
honest. I've got to be very neutral on this, because when I heard
you're going to start having opinions.
Listen, when I heard he got the COVID, I said, well, listen, you know what? You're lucky you didn't get it before. He's been walking around without his face masks. He's been challenging the face mask. It's not important. It's not relevant. He's been going on different campaign rallies and that without wearing his face mask. He's criticizing other people for wearing face masks. And what's happened now? And you know what? It's going to have a big impact on his campaign now.
Go on, be honest. Be honest.
Me? Well, initially I was like, get in, but then I thought, you know what? Look, and I think, look, we have to, even your enemies, you don't wish bad on them, innit? You wish them good health and that. Yeah, so hopefully, I love this. I find it hard to even say hopefully he makes a good recovery, but Allah will deal with it.
Inshallah, isn't it?
Yeah?
Just say inshallah.
I don't even want to say.
But look, listen, I mean, listen, for a fellow human.
Imagine I'm Donald Trump's opponent in the election, and I'm just saying, oh, you just told me Donald Trump's got COVID, has he? Oh, inshallah he gets well. Was it inshallah?
Well, you know what? We got to. You know what? We got to wish the best for him. Yeah, come off it. At the end of the day, fellow human being, we've got to wish the best. But he did bodge up his approach to it now. Yeah, but I mean, I can only wish him, like he needs to rest. He needs to kind of go through it. Yeah, it is hard. I mean, look at it. I mean, Boris Johnson went through it. I mean, he had 50-50 chance of coming out of it. Yeah, so if he ends up in,
I don't think 50-50 nonsense. You can't believe what you read in the newspapers. That's for sure.
I think, look,
He looked really bad.
The skeptic in me says,
And he
look,
looks
it's quite
like
close
that
to
in
the
the
elections. It's quite close to the elections, only 5 weeks or whatever. He seems to be not doing too well in the opinion polls. Wouldn't it be convenient if he fell ill and then got the sympathy vote? But assuming that he is unwell, and his wife, as Muslims, are we?
He won't be able to get sympathy vote.
Sorry,
He won't be able to get sympathy vote because he won't be able to get sympathy vote because if he's not fit to do the campaign, if he can't do the debates, then the second man in charge comes up the ranks.
You're breaking up. You broke up there, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think I've got.
I'm not sure what you said,
I think I've got a bad
I
line.
don't think he needs to actually turn up to any of the debates. It's just like here, Boris Johnson. Actually, the day before the election, the voting, he hid in a fridge, man, and he won landslide.
yeah.
I can't see how Donald Trump is not going to win, to be honest. But let's see. Let's see. His own party is working against him. You didn't have that here, so maybe there is a chance. But I don't know if that's going to bring any difference in terms of the oppressive nature of the American project. But that's another question. Okay, all right. Look, what are we going to be talking about? There's one thing I do want to kind of talk about, which is something that a lot of people will remember. A couple of days back, in the year 2000, in occupied Palestine, okay, a father and child were penned in by the Zionist soldiers, occupying soldiers, and they basically started shooting. They're unarmed, they're hiding, and they were shooting, and the father desperately tried to stop the bullets from hitting his son. He didn't succeed. Muhammad al-Durra was martyred alongside his father. Actually, his father was also killed. And many of you will remember how this was just, it was just happening in front of your eyes. And, at that time, a lot of people maybe not remember. At that time, you had a lot of Muslims and Muslim scholars as well, who were like, oh, look, Israel isn't so bad, and we need to be blah, blah, blah. We need to this, and Hamas is at fault, and this is that, and that. All, do you remember all of these apologetic kind of rhetoric that used to come about? And you had, obviously, the vast majority of the political elite and establishment pro-Zionist. They still are, majority of them. And the narrative was against the Palestinians. And wallahi, I think, my blood is actually boiling as I'm talking. But that day changed a lot for people who saw it, the cause of Palestine. And I swore that I will not be silent while this oppression takes place. And alhamdulillah, there's a lot of people in this country, Muslims and non-Muslims, who actually took the same message and made the same oath, and they're speaking out against what's taking place. I know a lot of people will say, we keep talking about Palestine, but it is one of the most important and longest oppression that is taking place currently. There are obviously many other issues that we do need to discuss, but symbolically speaking, it is something that we can't forget. And I don't know about you, brothers, it just feels so fresh to me today. Even today, it feels so fresh to me.
It's 20 years ago. It was 20 years, but it doesn't feel like 20 years. I think it was one of those. It was the first kind of thing for me that went viral on Facebook. Facebook was around at the time, it went viral on Facebook, and a lot of people were sharing it. And subhanAllah, I think it was one of the reasons why the second Intifada actually was instigated because of it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant both of them martyrdom. It was such a horrible scene. I think they were shot at for a couple of minutes until they shot the son first, and then they shot the father. But the father had to hold the son, his dying son, in his arms against the wall, and bullets were being hit next to them, and then they shot him. And it was captured by a French cameraman, I believe, and everybody across the world saw it. And I think this is one these are the things that happen to oppressive people, tyrants, that, you know, the cloak of deception that they cover the world in, sometimes it falls. And at that time it fell, and the people of the world could see exactly what the Israeli army were about, shooting at an innocent little child and a father, and killing them, assassinating them, executing them, with complete disregard for their lives or anything like that. And I think not much has changed since then.
No. It's a daily occurrence. I mean, stealing more and more Palestinian land, more and more Palestinian property, demolishing people's houses, just kicking them out on the street and demolishing their houses and taking them. And you know, we have amongst all of this, we have some Muslim countries like the United Arab Emirates, etc., normalizing relations with this oppressor. You know, it's subhanallah. I don't know. You know, I just feel like, you know, are they living in the same world? What is it? Is it fatigue? Is it like they've just given up? I mean, they're not even suffering themselves. If you can't at a distance show solidarity with those that are being harmed in such a horrible way, can you imagine if these people were close by, if these people were in the same place, you know, what would they have done? They probably would have been the people to open the gates for the occupation in the first place. Subhanallah.
Yeah, and
I mean,
very recently. Go on, Abdullah, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I remember, you know, the saddest thing was we actually saw it live, you know, happen in front of us. I don't know if you saw it live, but I can remember as soon as I saw the pictures come out. Yes, I think was it yesterday or today it came out. Yeah, and it straight away triggered my moment when I actually first saw that happening live. And you're thinking, well, hold on, no, they're not, you know, they're going to stop shooting. You know, hopefully they're going to survive. You know, you're actually in that film yourself, trying to think, well, you know, it's not going to happen. You know, they're probably going to be okay. You know, they're going to just, you know, some of the bullets are going to move, and then you actually see those bullets hit the child, and then the child becomes senseless. The father's doing his best to shield it. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's very sad for them. They had to lose their life in such manner, but you know, it was exhibited, showcase front of the world. You know, it's like, well, we're going to kill them, but we're going to show the world how it's done, and we're going to put the fear of death into these people who are victims, who are subjugated. Yeah, and it was.
But it did the opposite. It did the opposite. It didn't strike fear into.
No, I know, but this is the problem. You see, the more they can do this, and they think that they're actually putting the fear into the people, is having a you know, opposite reaction. I mean, many people in the UK abroad became activated after seeing this particular scene. Do you remember the demos and the things that we've had in this country, how young people at that time, how they became, you know, proactive for Palestinian causes in that, yeah? And then they got worried, you know, how comes in London, you know, in the UK, so many pro-Palestinian activists? Well, you know, you just got to ask Israel, you know, the types of actions that they've done, the way they've harmed innocent civilian people. What do you expect? You know, what do you expect the world to actually feel when they see this kind of brutality taking place right in front of them, and especially in the era where we can see these kind of things live? And I've got to give credit to the Palestinian people, the resistance, the way they resisted, the way they still hold their honor and dignity, the way they still articulate their arguments for betterment of their life, and, you know, for them not to be oppressed like this. You know, they want to claim back their land, they want to claim back their life, their properties, you know, and they have the right to do so. And it is shameful that political entities out there who want to actually stop the Palestinian from being human beings and living a normal life like everyone, all of us want to live a normal life. We don't want to see our child being shot in our hands, right next to us. You know, I myself had the opportunity to go into Gaza, yeah, and you know what? it's a very, very scary place to actually go and visit, because you know, you don't know when you're going to be bombed. You don't know when you're going to get shelled. Yeah. You know, schools, hospitals, you know, family members. There's no guarantee that a member of the family is going to come back and sleep in the same house again. Yeah. And that is the type of fear. What kind of society, what kind of an open prison that we as an international community allow? We speak a lot of things in the United Nations. We condemn, you know, in various different ways, a lot of the harsh policies, you know, but there's no action. And I think there is this feeling inside me is, you know, what can we do now? What can we do? Because we're always going to see this. We actually live loads of things happening even now. I mean, literally now there's things
that's
happening.
the question. There's no action. There's plenty of rhetoric. I mean, you've had politicians and prime ministers. I think even Cameron, I think he called it open air prison. You know, there's a lot of rhetoric, but this rhetoric, I think, is also a way of you know, dissipating the energy and momentum that's building for the Palestinians, because people think, oh, at least he said something, you know, and then they just go on with their lives. Because, you know, if you think about it, like, can you imagine anywhere else that something like this can happen and there will be nothing, there will be no action? Like, how many crimes? I mean, we're talking about Muhammad Abdullah and his father, you know, two individuals, but there were schools that were being bombed. There's white phosphorus that was being used. You know, people are children. Look how many children the Israelis are locking up. I mean, this is like, you know, it's beyond belief. And
so with the Palestinian issue, you know, when the flare up happens, you get these large number of casualties. So you get large number of people injured and a large number of people dying. So 2014, 2,500 men, women, and children were killed over a space of 14 days. But the problem with the Palestinian conflict is not the spikes in violence; it's the times in between. The siege, the blockade, the financial crippling, the lack of water, medication, economy, people life conditions is so bad. I mean, we know this, that 97% of the water in the Gaza Strip is not fit for human consumption. You know, the number of malnourished children in Gaza, children who are wasting away because of the lack of nutrition and the lack of wholesome food. The number of kids who are suffering from cancer and other disease because of the you know, of the environment that they're growing up in. Women and children, the lack of education. All of this is intended to slowly kill them and to basically destroy the nation. They don't have education, they don't have money, they don't have the mental and psychological trauma that the people face is real and true. And this, despite that, the resilience that they show, the ability to smile still, to celebrate, to be festive, to enjoy themselves, to try and live normally, is a credit to the people's iman and their resilience. Because if it was any other people, it would have finished them. We're on about, I think, 12 years that Gaza has been blockaded. Yeah, 12 years, nothing is allowed in, drip feed. And now what's happening, the difference now is that the Arab Muslim nations that are supposed to be their brothers, that are supposed to support them, they are doing the killing on behalf of their mothers. You know, the three fishermen, the two fishermen, and their was killed the other day by Egyptian soldiers, brothers. You know, their own brothers share the same aqidah, share the same faith, and they're doing the job of their enemies for them. And this is the shame of it all. So how do we respond as a community to that reality, that the Muslim nations, Egypt, Saudi, Emirates, they're all backing the wrong side? They're on the wrong side. How do we respond?
No, yeah, I mean, this is always very kind of difficult to find a simple, because if you're in a position where you cannot use your strength, you know, or any physical way to actually change the situation, then you have to rely on the other things. And as the hadith said, is that, you know, the second action is that, you know, we speak out against it, we write against it, we kind of make people aware, and we keep challenging it. At the end of the day, the change will come from Allah. Tawfiq is from Allah and nobody else, but we have to do our bit, and that's where I think as a community we're failing. We're failing not just to remember what's going on with the Palestinians on a daily basis. We're failing in our own selves because we're not living a life of those principles that will help bring about that change. If we are so willing to compromise and kind of just, like, you know, turn a blind eye, bury our head in the sand with not just the injustices that's going on along internationally or even in our country, but within ourselves. And the greatest injustice is being far away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The greatest injustice is being disobedient to him. And I think, you know, we have to really come back to our deen in a way where it is conducive, that, you know, we have that link with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where it's conducive for us to do the simple things that we can do. One of those things that we can do is, I've already mentioned, is raise awareness, but one of the things we can do is boycott. You know, we can boycott certain things. This is a way of hurting them. Okay, we've seen it work in South Africa, and we know it's working here in Palestine because the Israelis are going crazy, trying to you know, basically disallow, you know, alhamdulillah, you know, some of the councils that started to boycott, the Israelis try to take them to court and saying it's wrong and everything else. Alhamdulillah, the councils won. They have the right to boycott. Okay, but none of these councils are following through. There are big companies that are profiteering and giving that profit to continue the torture, to continue the killing of innocent Palestinians. And they're taking our taxpayers' money, they're taking our money, and our council is complicit. Where is it that we're raising this issue? Where is it that we're making those councillors and those council officials ashamed of themselves? We're not doing that.
No, and it's because Palestine and justice for Palestine, freedom for Palestine, freedom for Gaza, it's because they're trying to make it synonymous to extremism, synonymous to radicalism, synonymous to anti-Zionism, and all of that stuff, you know. And unfortunately, the wind has been blown out of many Muslims, you know. And subhanallah, this very day, hundreds of years ago, Salahuddin al-Ayyubi liberated Masjid al-Aqsa. It's on this day, Gregorian calendar, on this day, yeah. And I was just listening to his speech by Sheikh Zahir Mahmoud. So it's a shout out to Sheikh Zahir. Anybody who wants to hear a very motivational summary of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi's life, then go to Sheikh Zahir Mahmoud's speech. But he was saying, look, what is the difference between Sheikh Salahuddin al-Ayyubi and us? What is the difference? Or during his time and our time, is it like the number of Muslims was huge back then? No, the number of Muslims is huge now. Is it that the wealth and the resources that Muslims have access to? No, the resources that they had access to back then, we have the same access. He said the main difference between them and us, between Salahuddin al-Ayyubi and us, is the fact that he was a man of action and of principles. He was a man who was, he believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he didn't just talk the talk, he actually lived it, he implemented it, he practiced it, he was sincere. And he said that was what the Sahaba were. They were people who spoke little and did more. Ali radiallahu anhu, when he became Khalifa, he took to the minbar and he said, "Oh Muslims, you need a leader who leads by example and speaks less." And then he descended from the minbar. That was his speech. Like, action, believe, do what Islam tells you to do, live the religion. And when you do that, then the change will happen. Otherwise, the change won't happen. Otherwise, you know, the Palestinians, alhamdulillah, they get tested. They some of them are shuhada, Allah takes them. Some of them live and they're patient and Allah rewards them. But us who from afar watch and don't change our lives, and it doesn't impact us, and it doesn't improve us, it doesn't bring us closer to Allah, then all these things are going to be a witness against it. Imagine the death of that young boy, Ahmed Durrah, the death of that nurse, Kazan, the death, the shooting, the assassination of that disabled man. I can't remember his name. Every independent like day he would go to the borders with, like, he's got no legs, and then he'd hold the Palestinian flag as a way of protest. What did they do? They shot him dead. You know, all of these deaths of these innocent people will be a witness against those who watch, and it doesn't change them, it doesn't affect them, it doesn't make them come back to Allah, it doesn't give them that inspiration to do something for the sake of Allah. Then it will be a witness, and that's the reality. That we shouldn't feel sorry for the Palestinians or the Syrians or anybody else. We should feel that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is testing them, is favoring them, and may Allah enable them to achieve success. We should be worried about ourselves, isn't it? Because our lives are so comfortable, we are so well off, you know, both materially, and this is a warning. This is a sign of a warning sign that, you know, if Allah doesn't test us here, then we're going to have it hard in the next life.
Yeah, no, 100%, totally agree. I actually also watched that talk by Sheikh Zayed, and I must say it's like we always like to kind of look back on our history and romanticize it and say, oh, I wish we were like that, as if, like, you know, they had everything. And what we fail to do when we look back, and that's the saddest thing, is that we don't realize that we actually have, if not the same, more opportunities actually to achieve the same things that they're achieving. But it's like you said, Kalam, the simple thing is they were people of action and less talk, and we're people of just talking and no action. And I think this is the big kind of issue. So I hope, brothers and sisters, look, you know, nothing changes overnight, but, you know, we have to start it at ourselves. We have to, you know, there's so much time being wasted on silly things, like, you know, on, like, can you imagine, like, how many Muslims, you know, if you look historically back, you know, how much time did they waste on, oh, this Imam said this, that activist said that, this Da'i said this, or this, you know, we're just so busy. You know, we have been sucked in by this consumer capitalist kind of way of life, you know, that how do we spend our time? You know, okay, let's ask a good question, all right, brothers and sisters, answer if you dare. Honestly, how do you spend your time? So say you work 9 to 5, okay, and then you come home. What do you do when you come home? Do you put the telly on? Do you watch a film? Do you what is it that you do to spend your time, to, you know, the downtime where you're not actually working? What do you do? And you'll find that most of us, and I'm including myself in this, first and foremost, most of us are wasting our time on things that are, you know, pointless. They don't benefit us. They don't benefit me individually. They don't benefit my family. They don't benefit anything. Okay, all I do is kill the time, and this is one of the signs that Allah has abandoned us. Okay, you know, when, you know, this concept of killing time. Okay, it's not killing time, we're just killing our own akhirah. That's what we're doing. And I think, you know, we got to look at these things. You know, how is it, how you know, subhanallah, they had the same 24 hours that we did, but they did much more. How is it? Is it because they slept less? No, they didn't necessarily sleep less. It's because they utilized their time well. Okay, how are we utilizing our time? What is the beneficial things that we do other than just work for our family? And, you know, employment and working and all of that is very important. I'm not downplaying it. Sleeping is very important. I'm not downplaying it. But what about the times in between all of that? What is it being used for?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things clearly that the Muslim community here and everywhere is not doing properly is salah, right? The prayer isn't being performed. Like, you know, we got pockets of Muslims that are praying, alhamdulillah. And, you know, during lockdown, at the beginning of lockdown, everybody wanted the mosques to be open. The mosques are now all open, but you're still not getting the people praying. You know, and that's the thing. Like, the salah is the first thing that Allah is going to ask every believer about on Yawm al-Qiyamah. How was your salah? And the Prophet ﷺ said that if the answer to that question is good, then the rest of the questioning, the hisab, remember, you're going to be standing for 50,000 years being questioned by Allah. Microscopic, you know, the standing, the questioning. If you can't answer the first question, everything else is just going to be downhill after that. And that's the problem, that we're not a people who are associated with our salah. Going back to Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, when he was born, right? When he was born, they used to live in Iraq, Tikrit, yeah, in Iraq. And when he was born, they were kicked out of that town, and they were traveling to here, there, and everywhere, and they had to end up in Mosul in Iran. In Mosul in Iran right now, and it was there where they met the father of Nuruddin Zinki. Yeah, the father of Nuruddin, Ahmed Zinki. He was the one who received Salahuddin Ayyubi's family and looked after them and helped them settle and educated Salahuddin Ayyubi. He was his first teacher, and after he died, Nuruddin Zinki was his teacher, and Salahuddin Ayyubi became a Hafiz at the age of 10 or something like that. So prayer and Quran and your daily dhikr, how do we spend our time? You said, Azad Bhai. Those things, we do our prayers late. Some of us, do our prayer, do our Asr just before Maghrib comes in, do our Maghrib, and then, do our Isha half asleep, and don't wake up for Fajr and do it next to Zuhur time. The prayer is all a mess. And we need to fix our prayers. I seriously think if the Muslim community in a good number can fix their prayers, the situation would be better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, look, just before we carry on, Dylan is saying, basically, he gives us salam by saying our Wi-Fi is poor because the video keeps glitching. So I'm not sure, because I'm looking at it. I think maybe Abdul, yours is a little bit hazy, but mine and Kalam's look normal. I don't know. Muhammad,
it says on the screen broadcast interrupted, so I think there is some problem. Which
so whose side would that be?
Could be at
No,
Facebook.
it's happening to all of us.
Oh, is it all of us? Oh,
It's
so it's
happening.
I think it's Facebook. Okay, all right, fine. Let's carry on. Muhammad Habib actually makes a very good point, and he said, "Can we start off by telling our own shuyukh and to tell their audience to tolerate others?" And it's very true. But look, the key point you made there is, can we tell our shuyukh? We have to also take that responsibility. If we're hearing our own teachers, our own people who we respect, and they're spending, like, say, you engage with them like 10 hours a week, and out of those 10 hours, if they're spending like 5 hours having a pop at some other people, then there's something seriously wrong here, and you need to speak to that sheikh, and you need to probably leave that whoever that sheikh is, okay, because it's not healthy. They're most, if they are ridiculing, or if they are taking criticizing anyone, it should be people that are harming Islam directly, not people that they disagree with because that they're from a different manhaj, they're Tablighi, or they're Deobandi, or they're Brelwi, all that. Not that stuff. If people get engrossed in that stuff, then you're gonna miss the big elephant in the room, which we're doing constantly. But I think also, look, it's not just about the shuyukh and all of that stuff. It is about what Kalam was saying. Let's individualize it first, okay? You made a great point there, Kalam, because I remember when the mosques were closed, they were like, people were going to do demonstrations, man. There are people going to like break the mosque doors down. Yeah, they were going to do X, Y, and Z. Like, and now, like today, subhanAllah, like, at ELM, I help out during the Jummah time and everything else, right? And I do the third floor of ELM. We didn't even only 3 rooms of the third floor got full today. Now maybe because of the rain or something, but that's what it was. It was like, and the 4th floor was completely empty. So you're not getting that many people that are coming in. It's not like that. So what is it? Was it the rain that put you off? But during COVID you were going to break the mosque down. And if you go to any other time, like the halls, they don't get as full as they used to. And you got to remember, at the moment there's a gap, isn't it? There's a meter gap between each person. So there's actually, the spaces for salah is like almost, okay, if you say halved, right? But the numbers are also halved. So what's going on here? So I think, look, people, it's that thing, going back to that point that you were making earlier. There's a lot of talk. There's a lot of kind of frustration that people like to air with their fingers. But then nothing happens. From that, nothing happens. Okay, Musa is saying that we're frozen.
Yeah, it's one of those days, and Abdul just disappeared. I think he's gone off for an early night in tonight. He's early enough. He's gone to bed. But no, the other thing I wanted to. Oh yeah, just before we carry, I'm just gonna change the subject a little bit. Listen, man, everybody, look, the power of dua. Remember, the dua is always accepted. A believer's dua is always accepted. So I'm gonna ask you guys all to make dua for the ummah, but make dua for Sadio Mane, everyone. Sadio Mane has been tested positive COVID-19. He's in isolation. Yeah, so we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives him a quick recovery and he's back.
You know what, Kalam? Our whole thing has frozen.
Are we off?
No, we're not off. But no. The two of us, we're back. I could see us now. It's come back.
Okay, because sometimes we have to just go off and come back on again.
Yeah, no, it seems to be there. Okay, so we did change the subject a little bit, but let's conclude that whole discussion. I think, look, there are so many dates, so many incidents, there are so many times that we can look back in history that should be a catalyst for change to us. If these things don't change us, then Allahu Alam, what will change us? And if we look at how we're how we are in terms of our religion and in terms of how society is being shaped, we are already consumerized. Like we had this debate about Eid decorations and everything else. Do you remember we had that thing? I know we were just joking and everything else, but on a serious note, if you think about it, more and more of our kind of Islamic whether they're celebrations or festivals or everything else, are becoming more and more consumerized. Okay, it's just like, there isn't a care for, okay, what is the whole purpose of this? That, the fact that, we're competing with a society, because we are a minority, we're competing with a society where, our children are seeing other things, we have to compete. I understand the argument and the logic, okay, but it is a hard time. So how is it that as a minority that we can protect our principles, that we can protect our deen and carry on? Well, the answer is really, really simple. You can do and protect your deen on the things that you have control on, okay? And the things that you have control on is your own actions first and foremost, okay? Like everything Kalam said about prayers and getting up on time, about being principled and everything else. Yes, sometimes you may have to compromise because of the situation that you're in, but that's just a one-off. That shouldn't be, that's just the, kind of one. It's not the general rule. It's just like a one-off thing. The general rule will be you will be principled. Everyone understands that every now and again something comes up, and it's like Ajib, what can you do? It's a surprise, it's a shock, it's like a yuka. So you can't handle it, so you deal with it the best you can. But let's take control of the things that we can control, and let's actually make them do the right thing for us, like bring about the right action that is going to save our akhirah first and foremost, but in the long run will be beneficial to the ummah.
Inshallah.
Yeah, I was just going to say, no, I totally concur with that. I think you got to start from yourself. But once you kind of establish and you've got that, I think so we have to ask ourselves some other questions as well. And those questions is, if we are so passionate about the Palestinian cause, what ways and what means can we do something about it? And you obviously know that you can exercise the boycotting, and that is effective and that's working. Now the question is, how many of us are boycotting? How many of us are promoting that? How many of us are encouraging others and also informing them with proper explanation and rationale, the purpose behind it? And if we were to ask ourselves, like all of us who are actually watching this, obviously, how many of us are quite well versed in the Palestinian cause and the conflict that's happening over there? That's number one. And number two, when we are discussing and talking and trying to promote, are we doing it within our own bubble, or are we doing it where someone else is actually benefiting? How many of us actually have dialogues with other people, speak about the Palestinian cause, be their voice for them, because one of the things the Palestinian people would like to see is people out in the West, who can actually speak for them, or at least give their perspective or give their points of view. And I've seen a lot of us, we tend to talk amongst ourselves. We don't talk with our neighbors. We don't talk with people from other backgrounds and other cultures. We don't explain to them. We don't, either we're afraid to do so, and we find it very comfortable just speaking to Muslims and amongst ourselves. There are many, many pro-Palestinian activists, human rights activists, they're also doing a similar kind of work, they're actively involved in doing that. But let's put them to a side. But the majority of the public, the majority of the people, they're not well informed on the issue. They don't know what's going on. And sometimes they're very naive, and all it takes is to have a little discussion in a friendly way to say, look, this is how the Palestinians are suffering, and it's very obvious. That the father and the son that got shot, they weren't Hamas people. They weren't the kid wasn't Hamas. There was no evidence of them being extremists or terrorists.
No,
but they still
we shouldn't even use this language, bro. What's wrong if they were Hamas? There's nothing wrong with them.
No. Yeah,
no.
But
there is. It's like, even us saying that is giving in to that narrative. Look, what they've done? They've painted the people that they've occupied, they're stolen from, that they're killing, they're pillaging. Okay, they've painted these people who resist this occupation, who resist the killing, who resist the pillaging. They've painted them as the bad people. This is what they've done, and we should, under no circumstances, should we also be giving that any oxygen. Okay, they killed an innocent boy and an innocent man. That's what they did, and they're doing it on a daily basis. Okay, regardless of who, listen, what is Hamas doing? At the end of the day, what is Hamas doing? Is it not doing what this country did when Hitler was trying to?
International law dictates that stipulates that the Izzuddin ibn Qassam brigade, the military wing of Hamas, is a terrorist organization, isn't it?
That's not international law. That's just some governments. Okay, before we kind of get into because with legislation you have to always be careful, because you can't be seen to be supporting a prescribed group and all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, legitimately, what happens? What does the Geneva Convention give everyone? Okay, it gives you the right to self-determination. It gives you the right to defend your land. Okay, that's international law. That's
I think that's the premise of our conversation, isn't it? I think that should be like put aside the political parties in Palestine, Islamic Jihad, Fatah, Hamas, whoever it is. The Palestinian people have a right to self-determination. They have a right to self-defense. They're an occupied people. They have a right to resist occupation. They have a right to return. They've been kicked out of their homes. They have a right to return. Those three rights are inalienable in international law. And no matter what has happened to the Palestinian factions and all that, every one of them say that these are their rights. They might manifest in different ways, but when you come down to it, these are their rights, and they have a right to protect themselves from what's going on. On the other side, Israel is working against international law. Has vetoed dozens of UN resolutions, and has the war instigated in 2014 was against international law. They used white phosphorus, which was against international law.
War crime. That's actually war crime. That's actually a war crime to do that. But look, you're saying, which is all of this is true, and I think it's important that in this narrative and everything else, we have the confidence to stand with those people that are being oppressed and know that they're innocent. Okay, because the clever politics at the end of the day is what's being used to not only shut down the calling out of this oppression, but to kind of manipulate it in a way that what you do, you start blaming those people that are being oppressed. Well, why does he have to resist for? Why can't he just shut up and accept it? Like you were saying about the war and everything that they're breaking. Every single day they're taking someone's house. That's breaking international law.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you imagine if I said to some British people here now, okay, these Germans or these French have come over and they're taking your house, and look, would you stop resisting? Okay, would you stop arguing? Why are you creating a fuss for? Okay, let them take your thing, okay, and stop creating a fuss. Okay, you're being an extremist. How would they take it? No one's going to take it. No one's going to accept it. But why is it accepted here? Okay, the reason is because one thing what Abdul said is just that a lot of people, they don't know the facts and everything else, and they're just like sheep following the major narrative. But the other factor, which is the more important factor, there is a coordinated effort to create this. Okay, the newspapers, the way they project the conflict is heavily sympathetic to the oppressors, heavily sympathetic to the oppressors. Okay, how many times you see that a Palestinian has been killed, or during the war children have been killed, and all of this kind of stuff, but you would get sympathetic kind of airtime for the Israelis to kind of almost give a reason why it wasn't really their fault. The children shouldn't have been there. It was an accident. Blah blah blah. All of this kind of stuff.
And there's also two sides. You have to look at the balance of the both arguments.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine the BBC giving Hitler or his spokesman airtime to give his side of the story? Can you? But this is the same BBC that actually interviewed and gave airtime to Marie Le Pen, a known Nazi right winger from France. Okay, so we shouldn't be and Nick Griffin on Question Time, so we shouldn't be really shocked by the BBC. But you know what? This just changing the subject a little bit more. Do you guys notice like how, and is the BBC again is the biggest culprit? How every time there's a COVID story,
as you were saying, I was thinking that.
Yeah, isn't it? Is it like what is it like? And some people, they're like they say, yeah, it's about representation. We're just trying to show that there's different. But no, you're not. Every time there's a COVID story, you're showing Muslims. Every single time, Muslims on the street, visibly Muslim. It's obvious. So it's usually sisters in hijab and sometimes in niqab. It's like the latest one about the sense of losing taste or smell is a bigger indicator than the coughing if you've got COVID or everything else. And they got a sister in hijab, like smelling something or whatever. Like why is that? If it's about smelling, why does it have to be a woman in hijab? Actually, the reporter that actually did that, she changed the picture after people kind of approached her on Twitter. But this is like, this is how that narrative is being formed. Now, in the kind of majority white population, non-Muslim population, when they're seeing these COVID stories all the time, and then you have the right wing saying, oh, look, these Asians, they're breaking the law, they're spreading the COVID and everything, who's going to be the people that they're going to blame for everything when they see these stories all the time? It's going to be the Muslims. So we're being made scapegoats again.
Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. And there's another picture. There was some demonstrations in it, and the police were using too much force again to.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, wait, and who did they have on there?
No, mashallah. You know what? I've got to give it to her. She was really, really brave. Listen, gents. You're right. I'm for that. Yeah, and I've got to say, she was one brave sister to be at the front. I was surprised about the other big police officers.
Police brutality, bro. I don't agree with it at all.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I mean,
the police is a service that we pay for, and we do not pay to get beaten up. Okay, we do not pay money to get beaten up. Okay, no,
but you know what? She wasn't doing any beating here. She was standing there trying to those big police officers, big
swung. There's videos there. Okay, listen, I will never condone police violence. Okay, it's just not acceptable at all. The police, they just think they're like, I don't know what they think, but they have no right to treat the citizens who are there to serve in the way they do. They don't even speak to you with the respect they should do, okay? All right, and especially people that are from ethnic backgrounds, okay, whether Asians or black people and everything else, you know what's going on. Did you look, that police officer that got shot in the in South London got shot? Do you remember? Yeah, he got shot and killed, right? I think it was Sri Lankan. I can't remember the exact. Anyway, and there was this outpouring of sympathy, okay, because the police officer, and they were like throwing out these numbers that since, I don't know, the 1900s or something, this many police officers being killed. I think it's like 300 or 400 or whatever, right? But the bigger point is, in police custody, in a short space of time, I think it was like 5 years or whatever, okay, over 300 people have been killed in police custody whilst in the hands of the police, and there's been nothing. You know why?
No, I mean,
the majority of those that are killed were black.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I totally agree. But what's he got to do with this sister? What's he got to do with the sister with the hijab trying to kind of like do her job here with and all these big men police officers?
She's not doing her job. She's not doing her job. She's using violence.
No, she's wading off violent demonstrators trying to keep.
No. All I know is she's being violent.
No. Listen. She was saying, she did say, look, stop, stay back, don't come forward, and I could, that's right. I could tell. But look, they do have the right to actually use minimum force here, right?
The law allows them, but I don't agree with that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, but in that situation, when they've got to have to deal with the crowd, okay. Now, the good thing was that mashallah,
the crowd. Let the crowd be there. Why? See, this is the thing.
The crowd was becoming.
The crowd is kicking them and punching.
These were antagonizing the crowd. Listen, you and I have both been on demonstrations, right? We've seen most of the time the incidents start flaring up. Why? Because of the police brutality. Kalam, do you remember that demo we went on once when the police forced all the demonstrations into the tunnel?
Yeah.
And then they blocked them off, and people were suffocating.
Yeah. No. I mean,
yeah.
Look.
And there was no sympathy for the police. And
bad policing does take place, but you know what?
It is.
No, you can't just carpet bomb it all and say,
I'm not carpet bombing. I'm telling you, every time the police go there, the only time, listen, even in Tower Hamlets, right? Everything, when the EDO come, we had to work so hard to stop the police from doing stupid things, right? Like aggravating and making the situation worse, right? We had to work double. Why? Am I being paid to do that? No. Why don't the police listen? Why don't you just leave it alone and let us deal with it? Okay? No, because they have this sense that, they are there to keep the peace. They don't. They create the violence. They are, a lot of the time, they are the instigators of that violence. Okay, so I have no sympathy, okay, for the police, and I don't think the police should be allowed to use violence at all.
Thank you very much. Yeah, regarding this sister, you're right. She was one brave sister to be at the front of all those men taking on the crowd. Okay,
how can men behind her?
How can all those big police officers were behind her, and she was at the front, like protecting them.
Yeah, that's fine. She's the strongest. But I'm saying, how can law enforcement not have the right to use some kind of physical force to enforce the law? You can't do it.
How is it? Where do we find that you need to enforce the law like that? Where do we get this concept from? Where do we get the concept that something has been enforced in this way? Where do we get the concept from?
Okay.
Here's a question. If you want to talk about, go on.
Yeah, let's in a very violent situation, let's give the rioters a bunch of flowers then, innit?
No. Like if you did in a riot situation, for example.
Yeah.
So say let's actually play this out. All right. Say there's a riot.
Come on, I need to understand this. Yeah, let's go.
Right, so there's a riot taking place right now.
Yeah.
Okay. And your answer to that riot is, and riot here. Okay. Let's not say riot. There is violence taking place on the streets right now. Okay. And your answer to that violence is, let's do more violence.
No.
Yes,
no,
it
well,
is.
I see where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from now. I think I've got to put my I've got to put my military strategy hat on now. Yeah, what you're basically saying is we can control and contain the violence in a different way, and it is possible. I do agree with you. I do think the police can, instead of hitting and kind of lashing out, they can do it in a different way.
You know
Management.
What TSG stands for?
Sorry,
TSG.
No,
TSG.
Yeah.
You know what that stands for? Territorial Support Group. But they're also known as hooligans. They're basically police officers kitted out with the best protection ever, with sticks and pepper sprays and batons and shields, and they come right when it's a little bit here. They come and they just kick.
But that's why
whether they're or guilty, they don't do that. They just go and into violence. These are basically hooligans with a uniform. Okay, you cannot allow, what kind of society is this where you allow? So, people who say the answer to violence is violence are the very same people who will deny you self-defense. Okay, because they will say to you, wait a minute, you didn't have to do that. Why'd you do that? And why can't you just accept that you're now occupied and it's not your house no more? You know what I mean? These are the very same people who say that.
TSG, the territorial whatever lots, they don't come out straight away, do they? They come out when the situation hasn't been contained by the community police officers and all of that stuff. So no, look, I think you do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. The answer to violence is violence. That's your philosophy.
Yeah, I mean, I have to accept that because I do teach violence. So, you better
reframe that because that's going to be
no. It's not because you have to. If you understand the nature of violence and how violence is the philosophy of violence, there's a whole academic arena to it. Yeah, but anyway, we've kind of packaged it in a different way. Call it self-defense, call it restraint, or whatever. But at the end of the day, is when you inflict pain on someone else, you're doing violence. Yeah, you can do it in the nicest way. You can do it
in any society. Do you really think we make this assumption that if we didn't have these people in uniforms who we've given some authority to, if we didn't give them the license to be violent and violently impose things, we would have a society of chaos? Do you really believe that most people in society are just violent? That they're just going to be doing violence?
Not most, but I think
a few.
I think it's human. It's part of human nature to be violent.
No, not everyone.
No, but to have stability in a society, you need, in Quranic terms, you need the book, and then you need the iron as well, isn't it? But
look at it. Yeah, I mean,
that's when Islam.
Allah sent down hadith, didn't it? The iron was sent down as well, and one of the tafsir of actually Ibn Taymiyyah, or Ibn al-Qayyim, it's in fiqh of, it's in no. I'm talking about implementing Sharia. It's in, I think, Priorities of the Islamic Movement by Qaradawi, where he says that some people you can exhort and you can convince and you can philosophize and they'll obey the law, but there will be some people who need the hard, harsh hand of the law, which is the iron, the discipline, the reprimand, the institutions of law, like the police and
there's punishment. Like, for example, okay, when we talk about the Sharia or a law, if you break the law, okay, if you break the legislation, there's punishment. Okay, that needs to take place. I'm not denying that. I'm not talking about that bit. I'm talking about, where the police, I'm talking about the demonstrations, right? I'm talking about where police proactively,
there is no society,
lock people up, kettle people. Come on, man. Look at how many times kettle people.
No, I totally agree that in a modern society we have to have certain ethics and values in order to.
In modern society, that's
no. But let me finish. Yeah, let me finish. Now, violence is an integral part of human. Okay. Now, as a philosophy, if you don't accept that, then you're on the pacifist side, where people believe that we're in a society of non-violence. That doesn't exist. Never in history that existed. Yeah. What we have done is we've curtailed violence through laws, legislations, and regulations, and we've kind of enforced rules upon us so that the violent nature of human doesn't come out. Yeah, and we contain that. Yeah. Either we do it spiritually, we do it by law, whatever. But if you look at most cultures, yeah, all cultures had a form of violence as part of their self-defense, as part of their survival. We have that. Now, the question is when people use violence unjustly to other people, or in the imbalance of power, that's where the question is. Now, if the police are using violence, indiscriminately, then obviously the police should be held to account. And, we are doing that. Every time, we see that kind of level of brutality, we call it out, and we've got to call it out. Yeah, we can't have,
yeah, but it hasn't changed. You've got police getting more.
Yeah. No, of course, yeah. I mean, and let's look at the severity of policing. Yeah, I mean, compared to policing in the UK and policing in some other countries and that. Yeah, I mean, sticks and batons and that. Yeah,
let's not do that kind of comparison, because that's
no. Why not? Because
you're not comparing like for like. Here you're comparing the instigators, the teachers of those countries that you're going to be talking about. Do you know that the British police go to all of these countries and train them?
Yeah, of course they do.
And the British police, if they could, they would do the same thing. And don't think for a moment they don't. Before they take you to the police station, they're roughing you up.
Yeah, but not only that they go and
let's not forget that.
Yeah, but not only they go and teach policing, they also teach, the soldiers and military. I mean, we've got Israel now teaching the Philippine soldiers over there. So the violence has been transported around the world in the normalized way, sanctioned by states, and that. My point is, the reality is there is violence. The question is the levels and severity is different in different places. But to deny someone else the right to self-defense is also another injustice as well. And this is why now look what's happening to the conflict that's taking place right now in front of us. Yeah, I mean, what is it in Albania and the adjacent country? Look, violence, pure military clashes. Armenia, yeah, Armenia. Now, yeah. So it's
Azerbaijan. I can't remember. One of those two. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so they're serious conflict that's actually brought up now. Yeah, now two sides with military capacity, are
war basically, but it's to do with resources. But look, I'm not denying this. That's a different thing. See, you when you take it onto that level, that's a different thing. But if we look at violence as a whole, we can have a conversation. Maybe next week we can have a whole conversation about violence. Okay, but what I'm saying, my point was about
I know
powers, okay?
The policing,
the policing and their tactics. Okay, too often I see police officers, and there's always an excuse. The crowd was this. No, if you did not first and foremost come out and do what you're doing, what was the worst thing that was going to happen in Trafalgar Square? Okay, these guys, right? They were demonstrating. They broke the rule of 6. Yeah, there's like 5,000 of them, 10,000 of them. Of course they broke the rule of 6. Oh, but you're going to make a point, and this is the stupidity. You're going to make a point, and you're going to say to them, okay, you have to all go home, or we're going to start arresting you. Are you not antagonizing them? Of course you're antagonizing them. Let them have their say, and they're going to go home anyway. Like, who the hell wants to stay out in Trafalgar Square all night? No one does.
All right. Calling it. Sometimes they let them just fizzle out. That's a judgment call, and sometimes maybe based on intelligence.
No, Kalam, that's where you're wrong. The only time, the times that they let it fizzle out is the rare exception. It is the exception, and that's because the police officer, the gold commander on that day, okay, and the bronze that's on the ground, okay, on that day is a sensible guy. Okay,
so we should have more sensible police. That's
yeah. We should, but we don't, because why? Because
that's why.
You give them power, they grab all of it. Look how they used to use. Look how they use stop and search. Look how they used to use Section 44. They just stop any Muslim. They don't need a reason. They just stop him just to harass them. Look how many people get harassed with stop and search, right? This is what I'm saying. We're giving so much power to the state, but the state is like, it's an abstract thing. So I'm talking about a specific part of the state, which is the policing arm of it. And we have given it too much power. They should not have the right to do this. Okay, we are paying for this service. It's not like if I didn't pay for it, fine, you pay for it. But if I pay for it, I ask for this.
You meant who's the senior? Let's say in that situation, who's what's the title of the senior who's coordinating?
Okay, so when you have these things, you have three commanders. You have gold, silver, and bronze. Okay, the gold commander is the strategic guy. Okay, they're like meeting the councils, the government, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So very strategic. Yes, the silver is more like the commanding officer for the day and liaising between all other things. And the guy on the ground is your bronze. Okay, so he's the key guy because he's seeing it, or she, they're seeing it live as what's happening. But what I'm saying is like, if you have a sensible person, then you get sensible decision. But you're very rarely going to get that. Why? Because the natural disposition of people in policing and everything else is that if they've got the power, they use the widest power first because it's the easiest thing to do. So like, for example, they want to arrest you for like, say, I don't know, financial crime. Okay. But what they'll do is they'll use probably a terrorism law to arrest you because it's the easiest thing to do because they can easily warrant for it. Okay. Oh yeah, he's acting suspicious. And, he went on to, he prays at this mosque and he did this and he did, and he's got contact. He might be, an extremist, this, that, and the other. And he didn't turn up to his prevent meeting, whatever, they just say this and they can quickly get a warrant, whatever, arrest him. But they're really asking you for something else.
Okay, Abu Kalam, your question to you now, yeah? So let's say, Abu Kalam, you're walking down the street and two police officers called you up, yeah? And they said that they want to arrest you, yeah? They want to handcuff you, right? What kind of like resistance would you make?
I'd be like, why do you want to handcuff me? And I'll run.
Let's say they're handcuffing you, yeah?
There used to be like a criteria. Police have to be 6 foot tall at least and have to have like, now they're all fat, pink in the cheek, like
whoa, bro. I mean, I'm having a pop at the police, but you're taking it different level.
They're all fat and pink in the cheek. Like I know a police officer, nice lad, one of the brothers.
I know him as well.
He couldn't run 2 meters without an asthma pump. I mean, how's he going to stop any crime?
I think like the friend yeah, I think he's you can classify him as one of the good police officers, yeah, right? Okay, I mean, there's loads. I've got loads of
individualize it. I don't want to individualize it to officers.
Look, I've got loads of good friends who are officers. Yeah.
Honestly, I think, look, institutional racism, institutional, problems, within abuse of power within the force does not negate the fact that law enforcement officers do need to be able to physically, violently, using force, stop people from breaking the law or from a situation escalating into much more danger.
You've taken it to something that I've not even said. So let's actually play your example. Let's do the example. Okay, so let's do an example. So someone is about to shoot someone or kill someone, okay, and the police are there. Does the police have the right to use violence to stop that person from killing another person?
Yes, they do. I think they do.
To disarm them.
Yeah, right. So what level of violence would be allowed?
In a
level of violence. Look, that's a judgment on the officer who's actually going to take the shot. Yeah, if they think there's an imminent danger to the civilian and the person's going to kill the other person, then they may go for a kill shot. If they think the level of threat isn't that serious, then they may shoot.
How does the police officer make that assessment about the level of threat? So we know so many people that have been killed by the police that actually were not a threat. Some of them, they didn't even have a real gun. Okay?
Yeah, but
Some of them didn't even have a gun, and
Yeah.
most of them were mentally unwell. Okay, this is what's happening. Okay,
Yeah,
and
that's fine.
this is my point. Now,
But denying
threat,
sorry, Azabah, there's no denying that to be a police officer, to make those calls, it's not an easy job, right?
No,
Like,
it's
let's,
not.
let's put aside all of the problems, and there's huge amount of problems, and you know, there's lots of issues with the way that the police force is being run at the moment, all of that. But to be to come to a situation where there's a person and he's got a couple of people hostage, and it seems to be that he's got a gun, then they make a call. You hope that the institutions of the you know, will make a call based on evidence, based on preponderance of evidence, all of that stuff. And
so that's what I'm saying. So this is where it falls apart, doesn't it? You know, where is that due diligence that takes place? Do you remember the killing of Menezes?
Yeah. Well, that was
Well, they it's just totally botched up. First of all, they thought he was a Muslim, right? They just followed the wrong guy, okay? Just because he had a rucksack, okay? And they shot him like a dozen times for nothing.
Yeah.
For nothing. All right? For absolutely nothing. And you know what? There was a proper preponderance, as you use the term, okay? I don't think that's actually the right word, but we'll use it.
You know what I mean, don't it? Preponderance.
But there was all of that taking place, and they got it wrong. And you know why they got it wrong? Because they have that ultimate power. That's what I'm saying. They shouldn't have that. You need checks and balances. All right, you need checks and balances.
In that situation, what would happen? Like, if their intelligence is saying, and you know, it was wrong, and there should have been, and there was investigations, and some of the police were reprimanded. I think there was a little bit of an attempt.
Nothing happened. No, not a single thing happened. And this is my point. Okay, yes, Kalam, we're all humans, and we're going to make a mistake. I accept that. But when you make that mistake, then there should be consequences. Like there is consequences for people who break the law. They maybe by mistake, maybe they just got angry and decided to smash in someone's shop, right?
To be honest, I think we're talking amongst ourselves now, because Shakir is saying today we're having a really important discussion, and the connection is very poor.
It is very poor, and you know what? We've gone over the 1 hour limit anyway, so by 20 minutes nearly. So alhamdulillah, look, it was a really good discussion, and I think, you know what, next week, right? Come prepared. I want to talk about violence.
Yeah, let's talk about violence, inshallah.
We'll talk about violence, the rights of it, the wrongs of it, who's allowed to have it, according to us, because we are the people who set the agenda.
Yeah, inshallah. I know. Cool.
All right, inshallah. No, jazakumullah khair, brothers and sisters. Sorry for today's internet problem.
This is saying that Facebook in all the other platforms are also having the same problem. So I think
it's a general thing. You know what? We all know this. Like, if it rains in this country, the trains can't run properly and the internet can't run properly. You know, there's leaves on trains, there's water on the track. I don't know. And the same thing is happening here. Welcome to the 21st century in the first world country.
MashaAllah.
All right. On that note, should we give our salams?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.